So I was just saying that marketing is very powerful because it allows you to first understand who you're marketing to. So this one thing is when you ask most businesses, smaller businesses, but I'm not saying tiny businesses, businesses with 50 employees, even 100 employees, oftentimes, I would say 95% of the time, when you ask them to define who are their customers, the definition of their customers is weak. It's too broad. It's not specific enough. So marketing allows you to define specifically who are the customers, define specifically what are your objectives, define specifically the innovations, ideas that you're looking for to develop, identify the strengths and weaknesses of your competitors, identify what your company is good at and not so good at, identify the various strategies and tactics that you could follow. So I said a lot of words that you may recognize because they are English words, so words that you've heard in different contexts and marketing, such as tactics and strategies. You will see that those two are very important to understand, and more difficult is to dissociate what they are. The difference between strategies and tactics, that's not so easy to understand at the beginning, at least. So it may take you up to, let's say, sometime in November to really fully understand the difference between tactics and strategies. And sometimes it takes another class for you to start applying more and more what you've learned to really see the difference. There's a huge difference. They are connected. There's like an order between objective, strategies, and tactics, understanding that these are supported by who you're selling the product for. And so the understanding of the customers is very important. There's another element of marketing that is very important. It's the element of doing research. So when people hear this thing about research, is they think there's a lot of mathematics. There's going to be a lot of statistics. And I guess there's some, mathematics not so much, but statistics there's a lot. When I was a business student, when I started, I didn't like research so much because there was a lot of formulas and statistical formulas. I will not teach you so much the formulas because the reality is formulas are very quickly forgotten. You forget them. In addition, now we live in a world there is more automatization, so the formulas are embedded in technology, and therefore trying to memorize formulas doesn't make too much sense. It's more important to understand the purpose of why you're doing statistics, what you can gain from statistics. And you see, I find it always very interesting to think about statistics because people don't understand statistics very much. So the typical example is when I took my son to school, and I saw the students driving their bicycle going to the same school, and they were driving against traffic going to school wearing a mask because of COVID. These people obviously don't understand statistics very well. What do you mean? Well, the statistics of driving a bicycle against traffic is by far worse and more dangerous than the likelihood of a 12 years old or 13 years old getting COVID driving this bicycle with a mask. If I was the parents, I would say, if I had to choose, is get rid of the mask, but drive on the correct side of the road. So statistics is how do you see the environment and the chances of things to occur. So when you're in business, is you believe in statistics very much. So there's some businesses that are the best at statistics, and in fact, that's how they become successful. So insurance companies are the best at statistics because they worry about what do they insure and what they don't insure. They don't insure things because they like things. They insure things because they've done statistics analysis and they know that they are more likely to win than to lose. They don't win every time, but they're looking for 51% and above. Finance, banking people are exactly the same. is they're looking for the statistics of the number of times that they win. These are obvious examples, but every business should understand statistics because it's sort of this common sense. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. What is reasonable to expect from that, and how likely am I going to be successful? If I sell to women, how much am I going to make? If I sell to young people, how much am I going to make? If I sell to an older man, how much am I going to make? So it's always this question of statistics. So when I was a business student, it's like, oh, it's so boring. I'm going to have to do statistics. And then you take this class and you don't really know why and so forth. And sometimes it comes to you much later in the game. But so we're going to talk about research and therefore the importance of statistics. And hopefully it won't be boring, and you're going to see that it's essentially talking about money. In fact, let me ask you another question. If you're in business, what is the business role that makes the most money? You know, the finance, the production, the engineering, the accounting, the marketing, the salespeople, the advertising, the promotions, the research. Who makes the most money in business?
Salesman.
The government.
Management, right?
So the government, it's true, you could say that, but the people that makes the most money are salespeople. So this is something I cannot do because it's sort of hard to do. That's why I get a lot of sales. So salespeople makes the most money. When I have a class in front of me, I have 170 students in front of me, and I ask the question.
Ask a question with that is, are we talking about the most money made for according to employees or according to the company?
According to employees. According to employees, yeah. When I ask the students in the class, 170 students, and I've done it, 20 years in a row. So that's good statistics. But maybe people have changed since COVID and they will all salespeople, but they almost never do. I have 170 students and I ask them, who makes the most money? Basketball players, lawyers, cook, Uber drivers, professors, surgeon, salespeople. A salespeople is never mentioned. No, when I ask another question, I say, who wants to make more than $500,000? A few hands, people are sort of socially self-conscious. They don't want to sit in public to raise their hand for making more than $500,000. I mean, this is CSUN. People are a little scared of money at CSUN in general, students. So I say, okay, but who wants to make less than $100,000? Not too many. And then I say, who wants to be a surgeon? Nobody usually in the class wants to be a surgeon. Who wants to be a lawyer? There's always a few lawyers. Not too many, but maybe 5. And then I say, who wants to be a salesperson? I mean, there's like 2 or 3 hands. And then I say, if you want to make more than $500,000, you're going to have to be a salesperson. So how come I had 25 hands up on only 3 for salespeople? So what people don't realize is they're business students, all business students, the importance of salespeople. Salespeople are very important. If I had to say who's the most important in the business, it's the salesperson. But if you have a business where all you have are salespeople, it's going to fail. I'm not saying all you need is salespeople. That's insufficient. It's like trying to make a one-legged duck run. It's not possible. Or fast, at least not fast. And so salespeople, I would say, is the most important because a business does not succeed if nobody buys anything from this business. And the way to make a business, people buy from a business, is either you work before the salespeople or you work at the level of the salespeople. So, so you go and say, I have a good example. It's the G-Wagon from Mercedes-Benz, for example. So maybe you don't know what it is, but the G-Wagon is like a SUV. It's like the most expensive SUV for Mercedes-Benz. It's an SUV that actually is very successful in LA. So if I was teaching in Minnesota, most students would not know what's a G-Wagon, but you're from LA. So I would say probably 50% know what's a G-Wagon. What does a G-Wagon Mercedes-Benz looks like? Well, it looks like an old Jeep from the 70s. And that's what it is. It was originally built for Iran, for the military of Iran, because Iran is still a very wealthy country, but it was much more ostentatious in the 70s than it is now. And so they built that fancy military vehicle, and it was built by a subsidiary of Mercedes called Daimler Puke. You know, who wants to buy a Puke, a car called Puke? You know, not too good. So they made all of these cars, they engineered all of these cars, and then the Iran sort of changed, you know, at the end of the 70s. And so they had all of this engineering and all that. So Mercedes-Benz didn't know what to do with the car. And so they made it a fancy car. And then they wanted to sell even more of these cars. So they made it even fancier. And they made them more look like gold. And the place where they sell the most is a place called Beverly Hills, California. You know, and that's supposed to be a military car for the desert in Iran. How did they do that? They put a V8, AMG, B-turbo, super compressor, electric this, electric that. And they make sure that every nice hotel in Beverly Hills has a bunch of these in front. For everybody who goes to this fancy hotel, realize that if you've got a Phantom, it's a no-no. You want to get your G-Wagon. So the point behind this is that you, as a business person, you have two choices. Either you know who you're going to sell the product from the get-go, and then you're going to make the product that they want, and then you're going to use salespeople to sell the product that you already know the people are going to want. And that's the easiest way, the best way, because you know what they want. You make the product they want. You tell the salespeople what they want, and then you train them to say what they need to say to the buyers, and the buyers hear the story and they fall in love. Or you create a terrible product and then you give it to salespeople, and the salespeople look at that and go, "How are we going to sell that?" Well, no, you're going to sell it, but you're going to get 20% commission. And then the salesperson says, 20% commission? Yes, sir. And then they are good salespeople and they're going to sell it. And the people are going to buy something they should really not buy, maybe, and more than they should. And so that's not the so good way, because that's called like a pushy, like, you know, like ripping people off. And so the world that we live in is you have both of these. Is you have those great products that we all want because they just are perfectly matching our needs. And then there's all of these products that we just buy and we don't really know why. And we just go with the flow. And sometimes we have no choices. And sometimes it works that because, you know, so marketing in many ways can be seen as manipulative, because it manipulates before the product is being sold, or it manipulates you because they want you to spend your money. And so if you ever love to learn how people get into people's brain, that's marketing. If you want to get into people's brain, that's marketing. So it's very powerful. That's the point I'm trying to make, is it's a powerful weapon that is used every day. I mean, just put the TV on and you're going to find out what I just said. And so I would say, playing with words, is by the end of this class, you will be vaccinated, learning from marketing, how, in what world you live in, because you're going to get a little bit of the understanding of all the things that's going on. Is we live in a world where money talks. Follow the money, essentially, and understand the system, which is created by marketing in order to get people to think a way. You think one way in one country, you think another way in a different country, because in this country, they have just different cultures. And these different cultures are used in order to market people. And sometimes they also use a lot of culture from another culture in order to sort of influence people. So this is very interesting, and this is the world of business, and it's a world of making sure that you have what people want, or making sure that people believe that what you have is what they want. Okay. Any questions? All right, so let me share my quick presentation. So first thing is the textbook. So what I want to say about the textbook is very simple, which is that this is the title of the textbook. If you look to buy the textbook, there is, I believe right now, a 18th edition. So that's the most recent edition. But you do not have to buy the 18th edition. So I repeat, do you have to buy the 18th edition? No, you don't have to buy the 18th edition. You do not have to buy the 18th edition, which is the most recent one, in order to get an A in this class. What does this mean? It means if you buy the 17th, which is going to be a third of the price, or the 16th, which is going to be 5% of the price of the 18th, will still get you an A. So I still have students going to ask me in 3 weeks about this, so I have to be very clear. If I buy the 16th edition, can I still get an A? Yes. Why is that? So how come there is different editions? How come do you think there's different editions?
So they can make money.
Yes, it's a marketing book written by marketing professors. Why would they not make money and want to make more money? It's just what it is. So what's the difference between all of these editions? The examples. That's mostly what are the different editions, right? If right now I talk about the South Beach diet, nobody cares of the South Beach diet. In 2021, using an example of the South Beach diet, nobody cares. No, I mean 2006, I talk about the South Beach diet. Everybody thinks I'm amazing because that was a trendy brand to talk about and use as an example back in 2006. So as a marketing person, is I just vary. What has changed? However, a lot has changed since 2006 in marketing, more than probably 20 years before that. The biggest change is obviously the influence of the social media, which in 2006, I mean, Facebook was just starting barely in 2006, just as an example. And Google was big, but not as big as it is today because they didn't own YouTube and all these different things. So the world of control and manipulation that we live in has multiplied by 100. There was a time where we were not free. There was a little window of time where we were free, where the social media actually brought a huge freshness and freedom in people. You know, didn't last very long. And then there's the new world that we are in right now, which is just, it's like never before. So this information on social media is inside the new textbook, but because there's so many things that I will cover, I will essentially cover more what's the essence, what's the 101 of marketing. And so I won't have time to go into the details of social media, for example, because there's a special class that does that. The same thing as marketing research in many ways is much more important than social media, because social media is just one way of communication, which will also change in 10 years. And so marketing research hasn't changed as much in 40 years, and it's not too likely to change. At least the method won't change that much. So it's more important that I teach you the things that are going to be here for 5, 10, 20 years versus making you an expert on something that will change in 2 years. Because going to the university is not so much about what you learn. Going to the university is more about what you become and the experience that you get. Okay, so anyway, so the textbook, you can buy the one for $5, you know, the edition, I'll say up to 2011. So if you find a book from 2012 at $4.99, you can buy it. Or you can buy the most recent expensive version. And I mean, it's going to be good for a while and you'll have more current examples. So my email is the following. So it's Frank with a C and a K .vigneron@csun.edu. I'm pretty good at answering. Students say that I answer it very quick, and sometimes they're like, "Wow, you're so good and quick." Blah, blah. However, the perception of what a quick answer from anyone, from a student, has exponentially been raised in the past 2 years. Like sometimes I would answer within 24 hours, but for students that's sort of slow. Now it's like 20 minutes, and I probably won't answer in 20 minutes. So, you know, I do my best. If you send me an email, you'll get an answer, maybe, you know, not on Sundays or whatever, but I'll do my best to answer to your questions. My office hours are 1 to 2 and 3:15 to 4 p.m. That's inside the syllabus, but also by appointment, because I mean, there is opportunities to meet. And that's one thing that's changed a lot during the COVID. And everybody says that the statistics, again, show that the students have been using office hours by appointment. I mean, it's multiplied by 5 or 6 compared to before. In fact, I noticed that it went down before COVID dramatically, the 10 years before that. And it went by much further up during the COVID. I mean, why not? Students have this opportunity to meet with me, and I enjoy it too if there's a real interest. But make sure that you give me a 24-hour notice or something before, so it's not like you send me because I've seen that people sending it to me and saying, "Can we meet in 30 minutes or something?" You know, I mean, it's like you can't even get that for a hairdresser or going to a restaurant and saying, "Can I have another product from the menu at the end," and not pay for it. I mean, there's just common sense and respect, and I think that's sort of getting lost, but that's different issues. So what will you do? So there's 5% participation for 5 random classes where I will be taking role. I don't know when they occur. I would say they tend to occur not at the very beginning. That they probably start in October. You see some random attendance. Then there's the community participation. So the community participation is using a program which is called Pack Back. So again, this is explained inside the syllabus. The idea is to interact with you with Pack Back. So I was the first professor in the College of Business using Pack Back. And now Pack Back is either already an app or soon to be an app at CSUN. I started using it because I found that it was interesting, gave you opportunity to further interact with students. And the students actually liked it. So now there's hundreds of professors at CSUN using it. I started using it 5 years ago. I was like the guinea pig for CSUN, and I thought it was good. It works. There's a fee for Packback for being in the system of Packback. I forgot what it is, but it's like $29 or something like this, or $26. If you take the fact that I let you use any textbook, you know, even one that is like 6-7 years old, that sort of offset the fact that you have to buy some membership of Packback. This membership is not valid for just this class, but it's valid for all your classes using Packback. And I know not all the classes are using Packback, but again, not everybody use Zoom, and everybody use Zoom now. And so the idea is eventually everybody's going to use Packback, and you pay one time for 1 year. So right now, it's a little fee, but it's offset by the fact that the book is going to come down to very little money for you. Then there's 2 quizzes, and you have to take both. And so there's a midterm and a final, and each one is worth 20%. And then there's a group assignment, which is a work that you will do for a client project for a real company. Okay, I see your questions. Yes, I'm sorry, I can't see your name. Yes, Lexi Newman.
Yes. I was just going to say I just signed up for paperback before this class, and it came up with a $0 charge for getting into your class. So as far as I know, and a lot of people in the chat are saying that there was no charge.
Oh yes, that's right. So now they take it from, that's what I said. I mean, you see, that's kind of crazy. I was the first professor, and this thing became so big that the university approved Packback, that they take it from your student fees. Yeah, so that's what you call great marketing. It's done. They made themselves part of the game, from behind, by the curtain. It's good. I mean, good for them. They are a brilliant organization that was created by a student. A student had this idea of Packback, and probably didn't eat much every day for a while until they could get 1 professor, 2 professors, 3 professors, thousands of professors, and now the university just take the fees directly from the students. Incredible. That's the world that we live in. If you don't believe in marketing, you're gonna be suffering a lot by being a victim, I guess. But that's what it is. So amazing. Now, yeah, so let's see where do I go. So the quizzes are over an hour. I believe it's an hour and a half, and it's 50 questions. Interestingly, when the quiz was in class, it was 60 minutes, and it was 60 minutes for more than 20 years. And again, talking about statistics, in 20 years, we're talking like 15,000, more than 12,000 students. Maybe 1 person complained that was too short. So 1 out of 12,000 complained it was too short. But I had maybe 1,000 students that said that it was easy and they finished before the 60 minutes. Now I put it on Canvas, first time. And the students said the 60 minutes was too short. So it's kind of interesting how it changed, being online, perceived as too short by maybe 50 students told me it was too short out of 160. And so then I changed it. So I put it an hour and 15 minutes. And then now it's an hour and 30 minutes. So it should be accommodating everyone. Also, the grade that students received before COVID, it was more like a 78% average. And now it's more like an 88% average. So I'm guessing there's a big difference because students are using their book. Before it was a closed book. I mean, that makes a big difference. Students may be communicating with each other and all of this, I guess. And I'm not making it harder because I know they're reading the book. So I'm just open table. I'm telling you all of this so you know. I'm not tricking you. If you get a good grade with it, great. Don't study at the last minute, and you should get a good grade. Everybody should get 90% and above really on it. You have the book. I'm not making my questions confusing. And so if you have the book, you should do very well. So the quiz are not anymore an issue. In class, the students, they were saying, man, they came out all red and puffy and sweaty and saying, my God, your quiz are tough, but I don't hear this anymore or see this anymore. So good for you. But so what's tough? What's tough is the group project. Why is the group project tough? Let me see.
You have to work with others.
Because you're dealing with people.
You have to deal with people. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what's tough. It's not me. It's not the project. It's dealing with people. And I mean, right now I'm just thinking of this guy. I had once in class a bodybuilder from whatever beach in Santa Monica. I forgot the name. And this guy was huge. He was like Hulk, really bad. You wouldn't want to upset this guy. And I remember he was big and he had a big voice, a big neck. And when he raised his hand and he talked, I mean, everybody could hear him in the room. The wall were vibrating. And I remember he got a group, and at the end of the year, he came to see me and he was crying. I mean, Big Bill was crying. I said, why, Big Bill, you're crying? And he said, I'm crying because I got run over. I got abused. I got abused. I said, who abused you? The other group members abused me. I said, what do you mean they abused you? You're big and strong. How did you get abused? Oh, they were tricky. They had this thing where they had a puncture tire and they didn't come to the meeting. And so they had to do all the work. They had all kinds of disease. They couldn't do the work. And they tricked me to the end. And I ended up doing everything. And now I'm realizing, oh, this was not real. They abused me and tricked me and I did everything and I can't help it. And I can't help to cry. So it was very kind of surprising because you never know. There's no stereotype of who's going to get abused. And that's the world that we live in, is you have to be very careful, is you have to be fair with other people. You have to say what you want to do and how much time you're going to spend, and you have to respect their time and all that. It's easier said than done. And it's like this, not just in this class, in every other classes. And the reason why it's like this in every other classes is because it's like this, even outside of the classes. Is people have poor work ethics. So I just want to warn you, is this projects. So how can you go around this? And you want to get started as soon as possible because you want to, as soon as possible, identify if you are in a group with people that really care to get the job done. And so it's that simple. Try to get people to work from the very beginning and then look for red flags. If from the very beginning they're saying they can't do this or they can't do that, means down the road they're not going to be able to do much more if they don't do it at the beginning. So what's work? Work is you set up the work. So you see, this is the Everest. You can say, I want to climb the Everest, but climbing the Everest, you have to be realistic. How long does it take to climb the Everest? To climb the Everest, it takes weeks.
It takes a few months.
Yeah, a few months. You know,
because they can't climb it all at once. It takes usually establishing a base camp,
exactly.
going up, coming back down, going up again.
Yes, exactly.
They have to go gradually.
Gradually, several camps. Sometimes you go up and you have to go down because of weather, and what you got done in a month, you lost it in 5 days because you have to go down and all that. So it's a big commitment. It's a lot of money, a lot of time, a lot of energy. And therefore, you have to set objectives. So with your team, as you have to realize, you know, this is what we're trying to do, and this is what everybody wants to do. If you're not all on the same page, it's going to be very difficult. So let me look at what is the project. Let me tell you what it is. I have it here. So I'll explain this to you and see if I don't lost you, because I don't want you to think, well, it doesn't matter so much what you think at this time, because you won't think this in 2, 3, 4 weeks. At this time, you may think it's kind of weird, but when students do a project, and you'll see several of them as samples, what they have the hardest time with and struggle with for 8 weeks, 10 weeks, is to identify opportunities. Business does not need ideas. Business needs opportunities. The difference between an idea and an opportunity is that an opportunity is supported research, a documented idea. An idea is, oh, why don't I start selling ice cream? That's an idea. An opportunity is people want organic cream, so I'm going to sell organic ice cream. So the opportunity is people care for organic food. And the fact that they care for organic food, and I find out that there's no such a thing as organic ice cream, then I'm going to turn it into ice cream. But then they may say, no, everybody does organic ice cream, so maybe that's not a good idea. Then I'd say, okay, you know what? I'm going to do organic salami. Oh no, it already exists. Lots of people do organic salami. You know, it's like my dad. You know, he has a neighbor that does organic tobacco. So that was interesting. First time we saw that, is organic tobacco. I mean, what's the point of organic tobacco? Tobacco, you get cancer, you die. Organic tobacco, you get cancer, you die. But why would anyone want organic tobacco? Oh, because people see organic, they go, oh, I've been brainwashed. I need organic. I need organic gas. I need an organic wife. I need organic tobacco. It's like organic ice cream. I need organic pillow. I need an organic computer. Organic computer don't exist. It's like, you know, on water, on mineral water, it says 0 sugar. You know, this is a 0 sugar mineral water. Oh, that's a good water. Oh, I need that one. It says 0 sugar. Mineral water is never sugar. If it's sugar in mineral water, something really bad happened to that water. So it's, if 0 sugar sells, put 0 sugar tobacco. I'm going to sell 0 sugar tobacco. You know, 0 sugar diet CBD. Are going to people believe that? Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, fair trade, CBD, high protein, organic. And that's it. As long as that push their button, that's okay. Well, but Professor, are you telling us to sort of tell things that don't make sense just because they're dummy and they're gonna, at some stage you may not want to do that. You may intellectually think about it and say, you know what, I can use them, they're so stupid. But ethically, you may not want to do that. But the world that we live in is, you have to understand that is a concept. So opportunities are not ideas. They are better than ideas. They are supported ideas by the fact that there's a statistics, there's an analysis that says what is going on. So if you say, I am going to make electric cars, why? Because everybody's doing electric something. That's an idea. Therefore, it's sort of risky because it's just based on some kind of creative thinking. An opportunity is not creative thinking. An opportunity is saying, gee, the dollar is going down. Ooh, the price of gas is going to go up. If the price of gas is going to go up, people are going to look for cheaper energy alternative. Therefore, the opportunity is to make electric cars. It's supported. It's not just a goofy idea. So ideas in business are not really that good, or at least not as good as what people think they're good at. They are just the starts. They're like the spark. They are not the fire. The fire is the opportunity. Okay, so now every semester for the past 26 years that I've been teaching, I've had students to come up with opportunities and then convince me that these are good opportunities. That's what I've been doing every time. For the first time in my history, personal teaching history, is I actually give you the opportunity. When in fact, that's like 40% of the work. So I've made 40% of the work easier. Why did he do that? There's a catch. Yes. What's the catch? The catch is, therefore, you're going to have to tell me who's the opportunity for and still write a report that explains what you're going to do with the opportunity. So I cannot teach you this today because it's going to take me at least 6 classes to really teach what this is about. And 6 classes for 70% of the students. For 100% of the students, it's going to take me 10 classes. But anyway, the point is that you have to first understand what is the opportunity. So before I go further, I see a question from, sorry, what is it? I can't see your name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was if this PowerPoint will be available on Canvas?
The what?
Will this PowerPoint be available for us to go back to on Canvas?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
If it's not already there, but I'll check. Normally, I turn them into PDF, and what happens is I don't put all so yes or no, because all the slides that are important are on Canvas for the quiz and for all of this. I mean, for example, this one slide here is not on Canvas. So if I had to say, write something down, just write this. Everything else is in Canvas. So why is this? Because my slide is sort of my own little kitchen cooking thing. And they're already going to be as a video, you have them. So I don't have the video, the full slides, the full book and all this. So I sort of summarize my PowerPoint slides into what I think is essential. And, you know, for example, that slide that I just have right there, it's not on Canvas, but it's just a little explanation. This one, I will make it available on Canvas because it's important, but you can just listen to the concept because I want you to start researching on it. And so there's not much to it than what it is right here. So what's the difference between an opportunity and an ID? Is an opportunity is a supported ID with research and sources. Okay. Listen to this a number of times, and eventually from classes to classes, it's all going to make sense. The difficulty with this class is that I'm going to teach you the knowledge and at the same time ask you to do a marketing report. When in fact, for this class to be ideal, is I should be teaching what goes inside the report. And once you learn everything, you go do the report. But you have to do it at the same time. So because you have to do it at the same time, there is a little delay between doing the report and learning the information. And this is not just my class, it's every marketing introduction class. That's the dilemma that every professor has to go through. So, but it works, don't worry, it works at the end. Thousands of students, it works. Now, so the opportunity is called earthing. Earthing is a philosophy, which is sort of like alternative health philosophy, which people believe that there's energy, that we have energy on us, and there is energy on Earth. And they believe that if you keep this energy, you generate stress. So earthing is the concept of putting your hands on the floor or putting your hands on rocks or putting your feet on the floor and all of this. And it's releasing this energy or gaining this energy, okay? So I cannot convince everyone, and I'm not 100% convinced myself on all the earthing. And I'm not like a weirdo person, I don't think. But I believe maybe this earthing thing is kind of interesting, and there's probably some truth in it. My own personal conviction comes from doing martial arts since 1980. I started doing martial arts in 1980, and I can tell you that if I don't believe in energy or your own personal energies, you can't really do martial arts. So I know that I broke some piece of wood that if I didn't train, I would have broke my hand or my knee or my feet on this thing. So yeah, I'm sort of blown away that I could do it. And I'm not big guy or Hulk or whatever. There's some kind of energy in every one of us. And it's kind of weird. But anyway, and it's the same kind of thing. Is if you they teach us, and it's in karate or it's in taekwondo. It's called the kia, where you have to release the energy, you have to gain the energy, the way you put your feet on the ground, the posture that you have, the way you, anyway. So earthing, I get it from my own perspective of the martial arts, and maybe you get it from your own perspective, but there's something in there. If you read the whole thing, there's some things that I find it kind of a little bit like a bit strange. But anyway, the earthing philosophy has generated a thing called grounding shoes, also called grounded shoes. So now let me show you the picture of all of this. So the idea is that if you walk in the sand, in the grass, in the dirt somewhere, is you're actually grounded, which means that you release energy, not even noticing it, or you gain energy by just being there. This is the way human beings have been for hundreds of thousands of years. But recently, we saw the innovation of rubber. And then people have been using rubber in order to walk. And so the people that believe in earthing is they believe there is a disruption from this concept due to the rubber. And so what's very interesting, and that was maybe 8 years ago, the client that we had in this class was a lady that wrote a book for veterans, so military veterans that wanted to relieve stress from war situation. She was very concerned with the number of people suiciding, which I think was 15 a day in America, and dying of suicide. But that number is big enough that it's terrible. But there was even a bigger number was the people that tried suicide. So that was huge. And the people that thought of suicide, that was even bigger. So she wrote this book on how to not be so stressed and not want to suicide and want to live a happy and long life. And inside the book, there was a chapter on earthing. And I was like, I never heard about it. And all the students read the book. We gave her some recommendation. We came up with a plan. She used the plan and she won a bestseller. Amazon #1 bestseller and all this. She was very happy. I've had a lot of successes with many businesses working with my students. And so that was one of them. So that was the first time I heard of earthing from that lady who was a psychologist. And I sort of forgot about it. And then I ran into someone that told me about earthing like a year ago. And then I got curious. I was wondering, it's like earthing is good, but is there someone using earthing to make shoes? That would make sense, because if you have those rubber shoes, why don't you make earthing shoes? And then I found that there was company making earthing shoes. Shoes that even if you wear them, even if they have rubber soles or leather soles, your feet will still be in contact, directly in contact with the ground. And then I was like, oh man, my idea. Remember this thing about the idea? Oh man, I had this great idea. Someone is already doing it. Oh, bummer. Someone is already doing it. It doesn't matter, because you can always beat that someone. So then what I did is I got more and more curious. and I looked at the earthing shoes. And essentially, if you look at the earthing shoes, one thing they have in common, and that's not so true for the two shoes I'm showing you right now, because these are essential basic sandals, but is they're not attractive. They're ugly. You know, a little bit like the first electric car. If you remember the Honda Insight, the Prius, I mean, nobody fell in love with those cars. They're just ugly. And then everybody was wondering, it's like, why do the electric car have to be ugly? And obviously that was the opportunity for a company called Tesla. So they decided to make an attractive electric car. And this was a revolution. Oh, what a brilliant idea. Everybody was making it ugly. Someone thought of making them cute. And I think it's the same situation here. Earthing is the opportunity. People use the opportunity to make the shoe, but those shoes are ugly. No bueno. So then I'm thinking, what could we do better? Is there a Tesla of earthing shoes in there? And so then I kept looking. So this one is called Jewel. It's kind of weird. And then there's another one called Plugs or whatever. It's like, man, I mean, personally, I think it's grandma shoes. You know, so it's like, so then if grandmas are the only one that want to go earthing, then it makes sense. But I don't think earthing, the concept, is only for grandmas. I can see, you know, yoga boy and yoga girl that want to do it. Wealthy, educated, young, you know, whatever. I think this is a concept that will work for many different targets. But I think this shoe only works for a certain target. People that don't care for fashion, number one. People that don't care for looking sexy. I mean, this is, maybe it's me, but I don't find them very sexy. I find it's like, you know, maybe you stay at home, like confinement shoes or something. You know, you don't go out with this. And so then I even found that people say, you know what, why don't you make your own grounding shoes? So if you go on YouTube, there's a lot of videos that teach you how to make your own grounding shoes. So obviously, you know, it's not that complicated. You need a power drill, and then you take your favorite shoe, you power drill them, and then you put a little bolt there, and then you put a rivet or whatever you do, and then you work on your rivet, and here you go, you have your own grounding shoes. Problem is, the people who do that, I like the concept of grounding shoes. Would I want to wear my own grounding shoes that I've drilled and all that? No, that's not my style. But maybe anyway, and then I found this Earth Day. It's like, whoa, that's more like it. So Earth Day, what they say is like, let's not reinvent the wheel, is they sell the accessory that you put in your shoe in order to be earthed. But that's brand new. This is like just right now, the latest. That's pretty cool. That's clever. That's a way around it. So now, what is your job? One, you do not have to find the opportunity anymore. 30% of the job done. Thank you very much. But you need to identify who is this opportunity best suited for. So then if you say, I think it's best suited for grandma and grandpa, and you have an argument for why it should be grandma and grandpa, and I think you can find one, then you decide to take the brand of shoe called Mephisto. Mephisto is a famous brand of shoe for older people. Or if you find that, it just comes to my mind, that the people that are really careful about their shoe are people that stand up a lot, like nurses. And then you find that nurses use specific brand of shoe, which I know, as a matter of fact, to be true. I forgot the brand. I think there's one called Ryka or some name like that, RYKA or whatever. And so those people really are peculiar to the shoe. And if these people start learning about earthing and all of that, and they go crazy on it, and it's true, but you have to find that. if it's true. That's your job as a marketer, is find these people, find those brands that would care. Then you write the report for that specific brand with an explanation of why did you pick that brand and recommend that they go after the earthing shoe. So I give you an example. That may not be a very good example, and I don't want you to fall into the trap. So you go shoe, 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 you're looking at your feet, and like everybody else on your feet, you have Nike shoes. That's like the most common shoe that people are wearing. Nike, Vans, and Converse. And then you go, you know what? Converse could do it. Nike could do it. It's not because they are big. Is you need to come up with the argument of why would they go for this? If you find that Nike shoes are the brand of shoe the most bought by yoga people, and the yoga people, obviously, I mean, you don't have to be a genius, that are probably caring of all the people, I'm guessing, are the ones that are caring the most for earthing. I mean, because, you know, yoga, there's a thing of balance, there's a thing of breathing, there's a thing of living the moment. So that would go with the earthing. And their favorite brand is Nike. Hey, maybe you've got an argument, and maybe I just made it for you. I hope not. But because I'm guessing not. If you're like a crazy yoga person, Nike may not be the brand. Remember, Nike became a revolution because they made specific shoes for specific sports. And that's why it was the just do it type of thing. Nike also became very famous because they came up with innovation, which now we know were not that good. You know, the Nike Air, maybe that was good, but then they were Air 1, Air 2, Air 3, and eventually it's like you're on a spring and it's like you're on a waterbed. And eventually everybody told them that's not good, the waterbed thing and all that. They sold it to millions of people for many years. And now the shoes are becoming smaller and smaller, and people wear Stan Smith, you know, like no soles, or Vans, no soles, you know. So it's like the Nike Air was a good trick, you know, because it sounded good, the air and all that, the bubble and all that stuff. Anyway, so maybe Nike, the earthing, may not be the good brand. And Nike, maybe, you know, right now has a bit of a reputation of having children make the shoe and all that. So maybe with the earthing, it doesn't work. So then you just need to don't jump to conclusion. Don't go, okay, not Nike, let's go Adidas because it's the next big brand or whatever. Or, you know, Reebok or whatever. So you don't want to be stereotyped. So how do you come up with what's the right brand? By doing research. So you need to do some research. You need to find a good match. You need to find a good argument. You see, business and marketing, more than any other field maybe, is very connected with making arguments and having support for your arguments. Okay. Any questions? So, because next week we don't have class, so I want you to focus on this. 3 things you need to do in the next 2 weeks. 1, make a group of 5 or 6 before next class. 30% are going to get done today. Use the chat, use the Canvas. A lot of people use Canvas in order to make groups. It can be 5 or it can be 6. It cannot be 7 or it cannot be 4. So not less than 5, not more than 6. Once you have your number of people, my recommendation based on a lot of experience is make sure that you exchange information with them. Make sure that you exchange an email. People that communicate through emails get further than people that communicate through Snapchat or even just SMS, text. Okay, so be careful. I know I feel like an old fart every year, more so than the previous year, but today and 10 years ago, and maybe in the next few years, still be true. The best way to communicate is still the emails. It's not the only way. And it's not the best way all the time, because sometimes the best way to communicate is a text. But in general, with a group, if you are elaborating something, if you elaborate, it's better to have an email. If it's just a thing like, can we meet at 3, and then Bob is not there, you don't send an email maybe to Bob, you send a text. Where are you, Bob? We are in the Zoom meeting with the other people in the team. So that's the best way. But when you want to communicate before with everyone, you make a little agenda for the meeting, and that's an email. After the meeting, you make a little memo that recap what happens in the meeting. Use the email. So if you do this, you'll save yourself of a lot of trouble. If you don't do it, you will expose yourself to a lot of trouble. If you already know what I'm saying right now, that's great. If you don't, implement it, and you will see it works better. There's Catherine Nagel asking a question.
Yeah, I just had maybe a suggestion for any other class that I've had with this amount of students. It's always been a little bit hard to divide ourselves into groups of 5 or 6. So I was wondering if you might consider breaking us into individual random groups on Canvas, or having a TA do it or something like that. So it's a little bit less stressful, I guess, and confusing.
Well, I've never had a problem though. You see, I would do it. I would do it that way.
I mean,
but
it was
I've
just a
never had.
suggestion. Other people
Yeah.
are saying that they don't want to. It's just usually with classes this size, it can be a little bit hard to divide
Yeah,
ourselves
but
up.
all my classes are this size. So I see what you're saying. Maybe it's a new thing that I've never had. So that's why I never did it any other way, because I've never run into a problem. I mean, the people before had. So I mean, the problem I have is there's some people that didn't come today, and then they come in 2 weeks and say, "Oh, I need a group," and then if it's pre-made, then it's better. The problem too is there may be few people dropping from this class, and I will be adding. The problem comes from this, but not from people making groups. So,
Okay.
so
Okay, I guess we can figure it out then. Thank
yeah,
you.
because thank you for saying that, but because it never happened, I never had to do it any other way. And here's the reason why I've done it always like this, and I never changed, because it's better for the students. If you know someone in the class, you know, go for it. And it's, you know, it's part of networking, knowing who is there, because this is not the only class that you take as a group. And for most students, this is your 3rd year, maybe some 4th year. So you need to have a network at school, so that way you can do group projects and you know each other. And again, it's a business school. A lot of the contacts you will have is through the business school. Maybe not everybody is a CEO right now, but in 20 years, there's going to be a lot of people with. It's all, again, part of being in a business school is networking. Know the people, know who they are, care for who is there. And if it's always the professor that makes groups, then it becomes systematic. And personally, I encourage you to want to learn who is in there. And because this is the benefits you're getting from going to the university is not just getting a piece of paper or getting a knowledge on a thing, but it's creating a network. So the network is something that you want to get done as soon as possible. And again, maybe this is not so important if you are studying history or English or I don't know, in engineering, even though engineering, I think it's very important still, but in business, it's top of the list, creating a network of people that you'll be able to work with. So that's also why I encourage students to be proactive and again, try to see who they know, try to connect with people. Yeah, it makes a big difference in business networking. But if we struggle to make groups, I will obviously jump in and then change it for the rest of the years until maybe it's not a problem anymore. So sorry, Catherine, if I'm not giving you exactly what you thought. I think it can be done. And
Yeah, I'm sure it can. Just a suggestion, but thank you.
yes. All right. So hustle. You need to hustle. This is you're getting a business degree. You see, there's one thing that is really tough to hear, and I don't want to be misjudged being an arrogant Frenchman in a way, but it's this the most successful people in business, the people that makes the most money, are the people that didn't go to the university. It's kind of scary. So what is the common denominator between people that really succeed and the other people? What's the common thing that really is? So you could say
Actual hard work.
hard work is very important, for sure. Ambition, tenacity, people skills, obviously all that. But there's one common denominator is hustling. How much they hustle, and beyond how much they hustle, and that's kind of sad. I'm going to say something very sad, and I'm not in that position, but it's people who had trouble when they were kids. The more you have suffered when you were a kid, you take the CEO, the Fortune 500, and the common denominator is not like more men, more women. There is a little bit of this, obviously, but there's a gender stereotype, which is behind that more than anything else. So if you clean out the statistics, you remove the fact that they had wealthy parents and they, blah, blah, blah. As the common denominator is a difficult childhood. And the difficult childhood teach you to be independent, teach you to rely on yourself and not other people, and teach you to get the job done, and teach you to be resilient. Because it's just always been tough. And not even your parents you could rely on. So obviously, I'm not suggesting that's what we should all hope for, but that's interesting to know. Once you know this, you realize like, gee, am I tough enough? Do I have a thick skin? Am I a little bit like that attitude of, if I had a really nice childhood and all that, so I had some screw ups to it. Maybe that helped me. I guess my parents divorced, so I guess that was not the best thing. But and if I look back, in fact, the fact that my parents divorced generated a lot of this resilience that I've had in all of this project, because I was the only child, and suddenly I was sort of like, oh my God, what do I do? Where do I belong? And all this stuff. It's not easy. So, but otherwise, I had great grandparents and all that. So it was not miserable, but that was making things hard. But it has helped me sort of survive out there. So you have to think about this. And I just said that, not to brag about myself, but just to share an element, which is in books. If you buy a book, how to become a leader or whatever, very likely there will be a chapter about resilience, and maybe they will talk about the childhood, or maybe that statistics and all this. So I'm just, because that's part of your curriculum, you need to, I think, understand this. And so that's what you do when you're in a group, is you rely on yourself, but you need to sort of supervise everybody. You don't want to be a boss, but you want to be responsible. That's what I'm trying to say. Being a boss, being bossy is not good, because you create too much conflict, and then there's not a mutual benefit. There's sort of a conflict of interests. So if you have mutual benefits and you have leadership, which is to get everyone to embrace the common goal, and you're all responsible, then that's good. Anyway, I try to share my own experience from where I come from, but I don't know if it's all coming from me clearly at first and all well understood. But so the first thing is make a group. 5 to 6. Try to do it by next week. You don't have to send me who are those group members, but make sure that you get their cell phone. I think that's important, and their email. And then ask them how to best communicate. What do they prefer? And also then share the things such as, do they like to work at night? Do they like to work in the morning? I mean, that makes a big difference, is because if you have a group that can work remotely, not remotely, I mean, you need to figure this kind of thing. Maybe they work part-time and all that, so they can only work in the weekend or never on the weekend. These are very simple, trivial things, but you should see the number of times there's students that come and say, I have a terrible group. And then I say, do you have their email? No. They gave me their Snapchat. It's like, didn't I tell you that you need email and cell phone? Yeah. Oh, they only work at night and between 2 in the morning and 4 in the morning. It's like, didn't tell you to check those kinds of things. So you need to check if you match well. Then work on the best company, try to come up with the argument. It's not going to happen in the next 2 weeks. Maybe it will, but it's a process that takes a few weeks. It's going to take you September in order to use September, but you don't want to wait. So how do you succeed in this class? Having good communication, good people, and starting to work early, because the more you wait, the more this is becoming very difficult. Last semester, the students, I mean, not summer, but the spring, did very well. I had to keep reminding them, have you done this? Have you done that? So there's a deadline where I will ask for a draft. And so that deadline is sort of very useful, because everybody sort of, not everybody, but a lot of people procrastinate a lot. And then when you have a group work, it makes procrastination even worse, because everybody waits for the other one to do something to some extent. So if there's one procrastinator or many, it becomes a disaster. So I have this draft, but you want to work before this draft. I should have a teaching assistant. I'm not sure yet, depending on the budget. We always find out this after 1 or 2 weeks. With my assistant, you will be able to get extra help. And last spring, students used the assistant a lot, and I made a big difference, huge difference in their grade, simply. And that's it. So the concept that I will be teaching you for the next 4 weeks is this concept of SWOT. So it's called a SWOT. The SWOT analysis is a very basic concept that you learn in marketing, in management, and in business anyway. A lot of the things that I will try to teach you this semester are not just things that you need to learn if you are going to be a marketing person. I hope that these things are useful even if you're an accountant, a lawyer. You know, like I said, marketing is useful for anyone. I mean, if you want to become a partner in a law firm, partners do less accounting and more marketing. Okay, so it's good for your own career. But the SWOT analysis is a very basic concept that you can easily find. I will teach you that, but you will find I'll start talking about it inside the lecture that I sent you the links, and I recommend that you just check it on Wikipedia to start with. Wikipedia SWOT analysis. You will see a definition of what's a SWOT. It's going to take you 5 minutes to read it. That won't be enough for you to really understand what it is and how to use it, but it's a good start. What you need to know about the SWOT is that there is there's 2 components. There's the SW, which is one component, and then there's the O and T, which is another component. The O and the T are much more difficult than the SW. So the strengths and weaknesses are the internal strengths of the weaknesses of the company that you will select. And obviously, the O is the opportunity, which you already know. It's the earthing and the making shoes design in a way that it captures and is in contact with the ground, because people are looking for healthy alternatives besides surgery and pharmaceuticals. They're looking for natural health. What else is there? And they're trying to prevent. See, I'm already giving you all the alternatives. Is prevent from disease, alternative medicine, and non-chemical pharmaceutical product and invasive surgery or whatever. Okay, and there's going to be other opportunities behind attached to this concept of earthing and all that, which you will have to discover for yourself. Again, they are not that complicated. Once you read the samples, you go to Canvas, you read some samples, and then you're going to go, okay, I get it. Inside the samples, you will see the SWOT. Because we're not going to see each other for 2 weeks, I recommend you go see a few of these samples. Once you've seen a few of these samples, it may not be 100% clear, but you'll be more clear, and that's going to give you a good start. And then do not try to work just as a group on this project, even starting today, tomorrow, and so forth. What you need to do is you need to say, we should all work independently and then come and discuss what we found. So instead of waiting for the meeting to brainstorm about things, is you should search on your side. So you know, the simplest thing I can say right now is Google earthing and grounded shoes. Spend some time researching that. Then identify the brand that are doing it. Try to see the argument that they are using. Try to see where they are selling them. Try to see how much they're selling them and try to guess who's buying them. And then try to look at the bigger picture, you know, alternative medicine, you know, health and all this, and see that trend where it's going. And then try to see some connection between all of this with some existing brand of shoes. So then what's interesting is you may say, can we do something else than a brand of shoes? So now you're thinking, I'm confused. What does he mean? Well, if you find that there's a brand, it doesn't have to be huge, doesn't have to be, it should not be too small, but it's really good at making like natural things, you know, for a specific group of people. So I was using yoga before, but let's say you find a company that makes yoga, clothing, accessories, and then you go, you know what don't they make? They don't make shoes, but what don't they make? Earthing shoes. That would make sense. I think that's the argument that we want to sell, that we want to convince the professor, is that that brand will be perfect because it's the perfect target for those shoes, even though they don't make shoes. I think I'm convinced. I think I love it. All right. So that's what you have to do. Any questions? No questions? All right. So is marketing necessary for business?
Most definitely.
Yes.
Yes. What would you use it for?
Make a ton of money.
Educate your consumers.
Or what do you mean by
Promote your
educate your consumers? What do you mean?
Like inform them about your product and what your product does and how it'll benefit them and why they should buy it.
Yes. So I'm glad you corrected it, because you see, when we say educate the consumers, that's a marketing task, but which is oftentimes given to the government. You know, like vaccine yourself to protect yourself and others. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, true or false. I'm only saying that this is a type of communication which is about educating them. Okay, so most businesses will not say that they educate, but they would say what you said after, would say that they inform. See, a business informs their customers about something. University educate the students about something. The health minister educate about some health habits. Okay, so in marketing, and I'm glad I bring this up through this conversation we're having, is because the words are very precise. So you have to be careful in what words you use in what circumstance. And it can be annoying, but it's because there is a very strong meaning. There's a lot of what's called semantic, the meaning of the words and the situation of where the words are used. You see, when you try to sell a product, when you try to inform someone, is you have to be very good at word smithing in order to convince these people. Marketing is about storytelling, and storytelling is about saying the least as possible, but getting the most positive perception after people have heard this message. Therefore, words are very meaningful. So thank you for your answer, everybody, jumping in. So you use them to sell, to make some money. So the point I'm trying to make here is marketing is multiple functions. Public relation is part of marketing. So marketing is it's like a circle inside, or like a bucket. Inside this bucket, you have public relations. That's marketing. Public relation is about communicating with the public in a way which is not paid. That's part of marketing. Sales promotions, 2 for the price of 1 on Sunday at Macy's. That's also marketing. Creating an ad for a magazine, for the Super Bowl, that's marketing. It's copywriting, it's called. It's advertising, it's called, okay? Defining the price for a product. Should we sell it for 100, 200, 99, or 105? Marketers define the price. Creating the packaging, it's marketing. Defining the architecture inside a store, that's marketing. They may not be designing it, but they will define some of the attributes of where things are going to go, and then they let a designer who specializes in store architecture. The same for a website. A website should not be designed by a web designer. It should be first designed by a marketing person that define what are the functionalities, what are the key elements, and then they give this to a designer. The designer does not design what they like. It's not artistic. It's first marketing who are in charge of research and understanding the target, understanding the client. Okay, so marketing is not just about what happens when you have a product, is about what happens before you have a product. Marketing understands the consumers, and then based on the understanding of the consumers, they create a product that they already know the consumers want. And once the consumer sees the product, if it was good marketing, they'll recognize the product, they will recognize who's talking about the product, how it's talked about, where it's available, and they recognize the price, and then they will sort of sense, right, activate their need, get the product, and eventually they should be satisfied the way that the marketers have anticipated how much they will be satisfied. So it's not like you make a product and you cross your finger that it's going to work. That's not marketing. That's like a lucky business. Marketing is it's not 100%. There's always some anticipation, but marketing is about minimizing the likelihood that things don't work because you've done your homework before. Your homework is your research, and it's based on statistical analysis. Statistical analysis allows you to minimize the chances. There's never 100%. You just minimize. And then in order to get closer to 100%, it's more time. But more time is more money, and sometimes it's less money you're going to make because you're going to be too late in launching the product. Okay, a little bit like this earthing. I think earthing is still in a stage that it's like the wild west. There's a lot of opportunities to jump into earthing, because actually, let me ask you this question, and this is an important question. I sort of want to be able to see as many people as possible. How many people have heard of earthing here?
Never heard it till now.
Okay, but anyone heard about it?
Yes. Kind of connected with yoga, kind of Eastern chakra and chi, and wholesome, holistic practices with nature, kind of being able to have balanced eating, kind of being able to be in tune with the sunrise and the sunset.
Yeah, exactly.
And being able to kind of practice yoga, forest bathing, kind of being able to with nature.
Oh yeah, it goes with tree. You're right. There's some people that go with the tree thing, tree hugging and all of this.
Sometimes, or just climbing it.
Yeah.
Growing fruit from it.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So yeah. Oh, you see, I don't know a ton of this. I'm gonna learn.
Like orchards. Yeah.
What?
Orchards.
Yes, orchards. So we all gonna learn a lot about these, and it may be things that we discover and think, oh, that's pretty cool. And it's in these things that we think that are interesting that we can think about a commercial use. How can we turn this commercial? So, you know, I mean, it's a little bit the defect of the marketing people that I am, is when I see those things and I find them interesting, I always ask myself, am I the only one that think this is interesting? And then the next question is, how many other people are thinking this is interesting? Then is it a big number of people? You know, it's like, because you don't want to be making a lot of work for very little. And then, is it sustainable? Is it something that's going to last a month, or is it going to last 10 years? And then how many competitors am I by myself? You know, and then the next thing, I mean, this thing keeps on going on. But then the next thing is, are there a barrier of entry? You know, so obviously with the earthing shoes, what's kind of funny is there's a lot of do-it-yourself, like we just saw. So creating the earthing shoe, you know, it's not like a rocket science.
Well, I think connecting with that is that there is definitely a really good marketing for it, especially in California, as well as Colorado, Utah, kind of places with mountainous kind of locales, geographies.
Yes.
And the reason connecting with that is that, for example, enthusiasts for hiking in the park.
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
There's a lot of natural terrain, though simultaneously some folks are actually like very nature aware and they're able to hike barefoot, or they can do sprinting barefoot, and there's kind of an enthusiast crowd. And though a person would want to prevent getting cuts or bruises or splinters or anything like that on their feet, so keeping their feet protected but still providing that essential art support. And essentially, when seeing something like earthing shoes, then it's like, okay, it protects the feet, but then it also allows for them to still connect with the ground. And I think, you know, for example, hiking is something that's probably all, you know, it appeals to everyone. So has that also, it's both commercially viable.
So see, Dylan, I'm glad you said that, because if I were in your shoes, working as a consultant, coming up with these ideas, I would say, yeah, so you have Utah, Oregon, Colorado, California, where I imagine those people that like to take their four-wheel drive Subaru Forester and go in the forests and take their earthing shoes to do their hiking and blah, 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 and blah, blah. So I can totally visualize that. But then I'm also thinking, all right, but gee, I mean, you spend a little bit of time in New York or Miami or LA, and you can think about fashion as well. And suddenly I would say, what about fashion? I mean, making, you know, high heels, you know, stiletto that are earthing, or even just cool design shoes. I mean, I could totally see one of those designers, you know, Christian Dior or Louis Vuitton jumping on a earthing and then starting to do the earthing shoe. And next thing you know, everybody's going to go, oh yeah, I know about a earthing. I saw it in this magazine, and Vuitton is doing it, and Dior is doing it, and Versace is doing it, and Prada. Oh, did you see the new Prada shoe?
Yes.
They're earthing. All the wealthy people are going to want it. They're going to say,
Like
I
the
just want
protein
earth.
bar.
Is what?
Like the protein bar, for example.
Yeah.
It became designer, it became cosmetic. It started selling in Beverly Hills or West Hollywood, and then all of a sudden it just launched throughout the world, kind of at every Whole Foods, and
Exactly.
it became a luxury brand.
Exactly. Perfect example, like the protein bar. Yeah. It was a Cliff bar, and then it became Gucci bar. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say. This, and that's
Designer
only,
dark chocolate.
yeah, designer dark.
Full trade, fair trade, and everything. And
Oh yeah, exactly. So this is the mind of a marketer. That's your job. And suddenly you go, okay, you give me an opportunity, the earthing, you give me the grounded shoe or whatever, then quick, I jump on Google. I'm like a ferret. I'm like a Jack Daniel. I won't let go. And then
like
I
a mongoose.
A mongoose, yeah. I won't let go. I look. Wow. Only those unknown brands are doing it first. That's interesting. Then they all look ugly. Not going to work. And to me, this is like, perfect. Let's go. Easy. But I'm not even making it hard for you, because I even let you choose the brand. So all you have to do is you have to be curious. And then look through, it's like decipher, deduct. What would be what you see, the opportunity to go after, and what would be the best brand to be the match, and just come up with the argument and then say how you would implement that.